Live from Eorzea.
Limit Break with your hosts, Unmiro.
Google me, bitch.
Kahlo.
I want to be fucking Flame Lord Kahlo Landis.
Juxtaposition.
That's fine. I have a small penis. I'm reading forums.
Ascalia.
I bought something from Giant Wanker the other night.
LimitBreakRadio.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Limit Break Radio. A radio... I don't have an R word ready.
That's not an R
Rendezvous.
word.
Okay, that was... I don't know what that was.
Rendezvous?
Rendezvous?
Obviously, you've never had one.
Welcome to the show. We're...
Okay, hold on.
What are we holding on for now?
The intros are very, very outdated.
That's not what they actually hear.
I don't care.
Because I was going
It's
to ask...
for the live people.
Yeah, that's just for the live people.
Does-
Okay.
does
well, it's still
Nika-
outdated.
Is Nika in the intro?
She's not.
Oh. Can we keep it that way?
Yeah, it's a good thing.
I would have to go back and cut new stuff.
Nika.
I'm gonna just make a whole new intro,
Nika, say something dumb
and Nika
for the intro.
Nika will be on the intro.
Something dumb.
Oh, it looks like Cerberus.
For those that don't know what we're talking about this monstrosity that's happening on the live stream. Subscribe to us at twitch.tv/limitbreakradio if you'd like to join us for these live streams. You know what I noticed is that, we started doing our show live from Eorzea, and
Has Fusion
suddenly
Y started copying us?
suddenly all of these other shows are doing live from Eorzea bits too.
That's
So
an interesting trend that we have set.
it is an interesting trend.
We've been doing it live from places since the beginning.
I actually think there was probably another show that did it before us, but whatever, it doesn't matter. How can you make that voice with your friggin'
Parasite.
Yeah. It was the parasite. It was the parasite made that noise.
Oh my god.
That's terrifying.
The Parasite. How do we know if we're talking to Juxta or Parasite position?
Can that be my
Position.
intro now?
He just wants anything except the small penis.
That too, but also... You can be Flame Lord Kahlo Landis.
I can now.
Actually, yeah, now that one actually is a little bit now
I'm,
outdated.
I'm Kahlo Landis, the last resort.
I am
So I'm just
What
going
am
to
I?
swivel the camera
Warmonger
this way.
Juxtaposition. Big grunt.
Yeah.
Think hard.
That doesn't hear
Headache.
Well, I can't have the camera pointed in the other direction because people are deciding to be dicks. So
All they have to do is run behind you.
Yeah, it's not hard.
yeah, well then I'll change it again. This will be fun. This will be a fun episode.
Oh, here we go.
Thanks, guys.
Or they could all just stand
Or
on
it could
different
be
sides.
it
so
could
then
be
they're
Nika
everywhere.
that does it. And
Yeah, that would be me.
goal. There we are. Goal accomplished. All right, so welcome to the show, part 2. Thanks for everyone who was hanging out during the break, just kind of listening to music. The reason that the break is so long, it is ridiculously hot in this studio right now. So
I don't even know the point of leaving because it's just got instantly as hot again as it was when we left.
It really is just as hot. So thanks for putting up with us on the break and everything. Yeah, if you'd like to join us, if you'd like to be a caller, we're going to try to bring callers in again. We had a little bit of trouble with this in part 1, but we're going to try this again in part 2. If you'd like to be a caller, add us on Skype. The Skype name is Limit Break Radio, and then send us a Skype message with your character name and server. That's really all the info we need. But if you'd like to include what you want to talk about, that would be helpful as well. And I know that you can't include any of this extra info if you're doing this, but you can call us by phone at 810-515-8715, the number to call, and you'll reach us. And if we're at a point where we can take the call, we'll take the call, and hopefully it won't pause the call or throw it into chaos or put us in the echo hole or whatever it's doing.
Echo hole.
Don't you remember that from last time?
Happens.
Yeah,
Oh, is that what we're calling that?
that's what I'm going to call it. It's the echo hole. And seriously, Juxta, what the fuck is going on with your monkey? It's been teleported. It's a thing that exists in two places at once.
It's Schrodinger's Opu Opu.
On my screen, it's on his shoulder. Kylo's got a monkey, and Jax has got a monkey on their shoulders.
Where's your monkey, Nika?
Where is your monkey? Oh, your monkey's under the table.
I've got a kobold baby thing.
That's dumb.
It is dumb.
It's
It's
also
cute.
no, it's terrifying.
It's cute.
I can't see its front, but
Where is your monkey?
I don't have any.
Why don't you have a monkey?
I don't have any companions out.
Because you have dumb companions. Get a monkey.
I don't really care about companions.
We will rename the show Limit Monkey Radio.
Monkey.
Welcome back to the show. If you're listening on the podcast, it's been a week. Hope you're enjoying your tome reset and you're grinding a lot of bro flex.
What week is this going to be? Hold on, let me check.
Huh?
What week is it going to be?
This is going to be 2. This is going to be a week from Tuesday.
A week from Tuesday.
A week from this upcoming Tuesday.
So that should be when patch 2.3 comes out.
2.3.
Oh, really?
2.3.
Have we?
go.
Wow.
2.3 drops on the 8th.
Yeah, the 8th. That's Tuesday.
That's actually. Oh, that's. Oh, well. Happy 2.3 day.
Today.
Happy 2.3 day.
Go get those Hildebrand quests done.
Okay.
That's the main thing.
Except I will not be here today because I will be in California.
Haha, you're dumb.
Not playing
You're-
2.3 right away.
You're dumb looking.
Cry.
And
What?
sounding.
What? What? What warranted that?
Probably the fact that you didn't save Kylo's Snapchat of juxtaposition on your cellular telephone. The parasite craves apple juice. Oh my god.
So happy 2.3 update day. I guess that's that. Yeah, that is.
Oh, and buying your FanFest tickets day.
Oh, yeah, that is also an important day. Hopefully this would be the first official day of sales for FanFest.
For people who have active accounts.
Yes. So if you don't have an active account, if you're listening live and you don't have an active account right now and you want to go to FanFest, you might want to consider reactivating your account. But yeah, a lot of things coming down today. It's kind of weird to talk about something in the present that is so in the distant future.
Haha.
But
2 weeks is distant future?
well, yeah, a little bit.
Well, when it's something as big as an update.
Trying to talk about it currently.
That's what she said.
Yeah. What?
What?
That's what she said. She said it's a big update. There's something big about an update. She said that. She literally just said that. You heard her.
What relevance does that have to now?
I'm just pointing out that she said that.
He said that.
Yeah, right. High five.
No.
All right. Fist bump.
Stop taking my fist bump.
All right. Well, we're gonna take a caller here.
We're going to take a break here. So.
No.
Hello?
The echo hole.
Wow, the echo hole. Hey, Aldrich Valkyrum from Goblin, are you there? No.
You scared him off with the echo hole.
His name is here. Hello.
I know. I see his name. I got rid of the echo.
You got rid of him too, apparently.
Eldrick.
Yeah. How did I that's very, very odd.
Hello.
Why?
Nope. Fail.
Well, Wait. Was that
Wait. Is that?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, how about that?
Ah, it works.
Sweet.
Aldrich Valkyrum from Goblin. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. How are you guys?
Good. Thanks for calling Limit Break Radio today.
No problem.
All right. Well,
Great show. Love listening to you guys.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
We do appreciate it. So what do you want to talk about today?
I had a question about what you guys know about the whole chocobo raising. You guys had mentioned that there is you have to have a garden slot on your free company house. Do you know if you're going to have to remove one of your garden slots in order to raise your chocobo, or will you be allowed a third slot? Because we have a medium house, so...
That's a great question.
That's a good question.
That is a really good question. I
And
don't...
our answer is we have no clue.
We don't have a clue. We
You
don't.
wasted your one limit break wish. Bye.
I expect better of you guys. You were at E3. Come on.
We were not. We were not at E3. Thank you. I wish we were at E3. No, actually, we had no representation out at E3. We were like everyone else. We were sitting by our computers and watching live streams and Twitter streams and stuff like that. We had no official presence out at E3. That I believe would fall to Fusion X. He was out at E3.
Fusion Y.
Fusion Y.
Fusion X. was
Fusion
out
as
at
in
E3.
why are we bothering to bring him up?
Fusion, more like losing. Am I right?
Oh, you are right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, chocobo racing looks pretty cool. I'm trying to figure out how they're going to work it into racing with the golden saucer. It's something that we're really looking forward to.
Yeah, the golden saucer has been something that's been mentioned but not expanded on at all. We don't really have a whole lot of info on the golden saucer. So, but that does sound like something that's going to be cool. It is reminiscent of when they added chocobo racing to FF11, and hopefully it's going to be something
better.
It was just like
Terrible.
It's like horse racing where you bid on it.
Right. Well, but they also said it's going to have an element of gambling, too. So I have to wonder if you're going to just be able to bet on chocobo racing or if they're going to add some other kind of mini game along with the golden saucer. Because to me, when the golden saucer implies something much more than just a chocobo betting track. It implies like
A giant
casino.
golden saucer.
A casino.
Motorcycle
Snowboarding game.
Oh, God. Speaking of shit that was announced at E3 that nobody asked for.
Submarine game?
Yeah. No, this motorcycle bike game.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The arm wrestling game.
What about that Kupo Nut game where
Kupo
you
Nut.
Kupo Nut.
where you romance the Moogles? Yes.
So Nika wants to romance some Moogles and give them her Kupo Nut.
No, actually, what I'm bummed about is it doesn't seem like you get to raise a chocobo from a baby. You have to raise your companion, which is already a full-grown chocobo. So,
Please look forward to it.
I hope they allow it so you can enter your own chocobo in those chocobo races. I mean, what's the point of raising it if you can't get your own bird?
Right? Yeah. No. I totally agree with that.
They're just laying down the groundwork for now, and then they'll build up on it. It's like Reverend's Toll. Please look forward to it. Magic golden words.
So Aldrich, what are you looking forward to most about what you know about 2.3?
Well, kind of looking forward to the housing, see how that plays out.
Mm-hmm.
These free company rooms. I saw screenshots of the Crystal Tower, the new Crystal Tower. It looks awesome.
Yeah, the screenshots really do make it look really impressive. They did some great zone design on those.
Yeah.
I
guess we'll see when it gets here.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for the call, Aldrich. We appreciate it. Thanks for listening to...
Hey, can I give a shout-out to my free company real fast?
Absolutely not.
Of course.
Stars of Destiny on Goblin. If you're on Goblin, come and join us.
Sweet. Shout out to Stars of Destiny. Thanks for the call, Aldrich.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
You too.
I thought he said Sharks of Destiny at first. You guys should think about a name change. Sharks of Destiny.
Shards of Destiny. I didn't even hear that correctly.
Well, it should definitely be Sharks of Destiny. Change that shit up.
Raptors of Destiny.
Yeah, if it doesn't have raptors in the title.
Sharks. Nom, nom.
Bloodfin raptor.
Raptors over sharks, dude.
No, that's fine, but we're the Raptors.
Yeah, right.
You can't just copy our shit.
The Raptors
we will come to your house and cut you.
Riding the sharks.
What?
Raptors riding the
I
sharks.
said we'll come to their house and cut them, Nika.
What don't you understand about this?
Come on, there can only be one raptor shell, Nika.
It is not that complicated.
Tiny dinosaur lady.
Oh man, I'm scared.
Except, aren't you like D-Box now? The douche boxes?
What?
Didn't someone change your link shell name to the D-Box or something?
No, it's box D.
Oh, box D, D box, it's the same thing.
Oh, so now you're a box douche.
I can explain
Box
that.
of douches. No, there's no need for you to explain anything. We got it.
It was always our thing with my friends.
There was always our thing to be douche box.
Box B and box C, but there was never a box D, so we made box D. Okay, shut up. Get out.
I like Carletta's comment. Put your D in a box.
It's my dick in a box.
No. It's just a box. That's all it is.
Oh my god, how is my water warm already? This is ridiculous.
Because we are on the sun.
Oh god.
It's okay. I spilled my water all over me and it was freezing.
Oh,
Why didn't we get that Snapchatted?
No.
Oh, well. It is very, very warm in here.
The next time we do an episode, we should just have everyone have Moogles out and they'll be swimming around the table.
I am not going to participate in the summoning of King Moggle.
Why?
I wish you could summon
get loots.
Moggle with enough Moogles.
Get loot.
Here, I'll get mine out. They can dance together.
Don't ruin it. There's only 2.
All right. So, an article, not an article. It was a post by a Japanese player, and the
Japanese.
The translation, the subsequent translation by Emily M on the official Square Enix forums. This post made the rounds in the FF14 community over a couple of weeks, and it was I don't know, I wouldn't necessarily call it a scathing criticism, but it was definitely a strong criticism of the way that FF14 Endgame currently works. And I wanted to take a second to talk about this article, because I mean, I feel like we've talked about a few of these things in the past, but this is a really good chance to kind of expand on this, and I think that this article brought up some really good points that we haven't necessarily brought up in the past.
Nero,
what?
can I go to the bathroom first?
Seriously?
No, not
You
like
are
Drinking
a woman.
lot of
God,
water.
do you have like the
You
bladder
have
size
a-
of a thimble?
I've been
That was a
drinking
really
lot of
long
water.
break, and you completely avoided the bathroom for this moment.
No, he went to the bathroom.
I did. I went to the bathroom.
So we've got a tap dance while you go pee.
Or you could bring in another caller.
Or you're just quit wasting time and go pee.
You're a waste.
You know, he was like this on the way to ASUN. He had to stop like 800 times. In the
Seriously?
Yes, he was.
Oh,
I'm gonna like have cancer on my bladder, and one day you guys are gonna feel really bad about this. Mark my words. Mark them.
Look at the
How about
Moogles.
this right now?
why would you even say that?
Because I'm a terrible person.
That's a lose-lose, because if you don't have cancer, then we get to brag, but if you do have cancer, you still have cancer.
But I'll be right.
Wait,
Right with cancer.
Right with cancer.
I don't want to talk about people having cancer. That's just not cool.
Not even Kahlo.
No, not even Kahlo.
Oh, God damn it.
We actually have to wait for him, or can we just say fuck him?
Well, he doesn't do Endgame anyway, so yeah, we can probably just move on.
I don't know. Me and him went through Titan hard mode the other day.
Look out.
Actually,
Look out,
it's
big...
sad how hard Titan hard mode is in Duty Roulette still. I
Yeah,
dread
well,
getting-
in roulette, sure, I could see that. I mean, God, I had what was I running in roulette it was Copper Bell hard. I tried to
That's
run
hard.
I ran last night in roulette, and they got past the first boss, and then they couldn't get past the second boss.
What?
I know, right? The one with the biggie?
The one with no
Fucking Biggie?
DPS requirement?
Yes. Yeah. The healer kept dying. I don't know why.
Probably because the tank couldn't keep Biggie off him. Tank?
Okay.
No, Biggie
Yeah.
just runs around.
Yeah.
Well, he targets you with like
He
the
targets
Titan
the tank
Slam.
with the AoEs. So
Yeah.
as
So as long as the tank isn't near the healer, it should be fine. And Nero.
I was nowhere. Every time I tank that fight, I always direct the rock slides. I always direct them towards the exit of the.
See, I always end
room.
up having to do everything in that fight because people sometimes really suck. So I'll be the person doing the bomb and directing the AoEs and tanking, and it's.
So
Well, look at Mika here, Miss Wonder Woman.
So hang on. I also had an interesting run-in last night with this phenomenal douche nozzle that we were speed running Mythflox, and he goes, 8-minute runs is getting too long, guys. Like, what is your fucking threshold? We were able, to get to the second boss.
Say 6 minutes.
6 minutes is fucking nonsense.
It's hard. I usually get it in 6.5.
6 minutes.
6 minutes is really hard.
I mean, I'm not complaining, but like, if we were at 10 minutes, 12 minutes, fine, I get that. But 8, you're gonna sit here and bitch about 8? Bitch, openly bitch and complain. 8's too. 8, like, he chastised the fucking party. Like, 8's too long, guys. Bye. See ya. Good luck. Meh.
What job was he?
DPS. So it didn't
it's
end
his
up.
fault.
Well, it didn't end up being a big deal. Yeah, he was a black mage. Frank something or other is on the Sergeant Tannis server. Big middle finger to you,
Fuck you.
Frank.
Fuck all the Franks.
Douche canoe.
Unless your real name is Frank, then you're
What?
okay.
No, his character name was Frank. It was Frank something or other.
Douche canoe?
Douche canoe.
Like,
Frank
as
douche
you're
canoe.
going down the river in a canoe.
Made of douches.
No, I think the canoe is to provide safe transport upon a river of douche.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I can
A
envision
douche
that.
canoe? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
douche
So-
canoe.
Okay.
That's how I see
But
it.
wait,
So
no,
you're-
because you're calling him the douche canoe.
So that would make him useful.
He's more like a douche river, and you need a canoe.
Okay.
I totally agree with Fusion X, who says, "Who names their fucking character Frank?"
Maybe his real
You're
name is
ruining my immersion, Frank.
Want to ruin our immersion.
Ruining my immersion.
I need to say something. Remember the shout out that I gave at the end of the last episode? Mm-hmm. My friend didn't hear it, so I have to give her a shout out again. Shouting out
So
to
she
you.
wasn't there.
You know who you are.
Fail.
Wink, wink.
You said, I know you're there. She wasn't there.
Well, she was there. She just wasn't listening completely.
So she
or something.
wasn't there.
She was also watching Mythbusters.
I guess we just can't compete with Mythbusters.
Mythbusters versus Limit Break Radio.
Mythbusters? No.
We're kind of Mythbusters. Because we gotta get the
we're
myth
busting the
tombs.
tomes.
Tombs.
Tomes.
With a B.
It's not a tomb, it's a tome.
So, now 10 minutes later, after you've apparently peed, probably Snapchatted.
I have a new Tinder message.
Snapchat on the toilet, please God no.
No. Snapchat when I get back. Actually, I'm not Snapchatting. I'm just texting now.
Stop it! Fucking phone's outside, goddammit.
I am a very busy person, Aniro. I have a
He
book
has
deal
lots
to
and
make.
lots of girls to not go on dates with.
I'm going on one this Tuesday. Thank you very much.
I thought you were asking what I was doing Tuesday.
Yeah, so that I could not hang out with you.
Let me know when you close the deal. Anyway, so getting back to this this post that made the rounds of the internet and the FF14 community, talking about the current state of Endgame and bringing to light a lot of the same complaints that we have that we've brought to the table before, and especially in comparison between FF11 and FF14. I think that's where the greatest discrepancy and also probably the greatest context base is going to be. So one of the first thing that I kind of wanted to talk about was this term that was brought up, and I love the way that they put it because it's really great. This team jump roping, this idea we're not really learning fight mechanics, we're memorizing steps in terms of what order these mechanics are going to appear in, and we're just repeating the same order, and your success or failure rate is going to be based on whether or not all of your team members can follow this particular order. And I guess Japanese players have been referring to this as team jump roping, like when you've got avoid dive bombs in turn 5, or you've got to dodge way to the land. And that's a great way to kind of visualize what's going on here, because all of you guys have got to be moving in unison to avoid a single mechanic, and that mechanic usually comes at one static point over and over again. So, I mean, do you guys agree with this assessment that the static nature of a lot of these fights makes it so repetitive that endgame players are getting bored by the content?
I think that the biggest problem with it is the fact that it's one or the other. You know, you either avoid it or you don't and die.
Right.
I don't think it would be as bad if it wasn't a one-shot kill type deal.
Right. No, I completely agree, because it is sort of like, you know, it's very unforgiving. You are one step out of pace with the pattern, and you're going to fail. And that is so unforgiving, and they have to start a fight all over again. You know, if you're at the last 10% of Titan or something, or Leviathan. Leviathan's even worse. Somebody important gets knocked off the platform. You're fucked. You got to start all over from the beginning. So Juxta, do you have any thoughts on that? I want you to talk a lot, because I know it's really easy for you right now.
Well, each time I talk, I have to check my upper of my mouth to make sure I'm not bleeding again.
God.
But I feel like they can still have mechanics like Titan, but instead of having be always this, then this, then this, then this, then this, they can switch it up. Like have the first attack be either a Mountain Buster or a Plumes or a Landslide, and then the next one be something else. And if if something would happen too many times in a row, they can just change it or whatever. I don't know. I'm trying to talk.
I feel like in FF11 it should be randomized. Like they had TP moves, but you never knew what was coming, and you had to be prepared for it.
Well, because the mobs themselves had to be building their TP.
The case,
exactly.
And the instant wipe mechanics, or it's not.
So that's what they need to change, is the insta-wipe mechanics. That's not fun. Memorizing and then losing because one person makes one mistake isn't fun.
Yeah, I agree. Nika, you're our resident endgame expert here.
What's your opinion on getting petrified?
I mean, I agree with a lot of the points, actually. I mean, the main thing they were saying is basically that we as players are fighting against the mechanics versus the actual enemies.
Right.
And that the hardcore players, they spend, how much time bashing their heads into it just to memorize it and get bored. I mean, even now, we're done with T6 through 8 in a day, and then the rest of the week we're just learning T9, and once we beat T9, it's going to be, everything in a day, and then the rest of the week we don't play. And I know that's a lot of what's going on right now with people in my link shells. They'll do T6 through 9 in 1 or 2 days, and then they literally say, okay, bye, I'll log off, see you next week. And it does get pretty boring, I think, for the end game. And then what they were saying is that the middle ground players, it's all frustration, because you've got those few players that can do it and those few players that can't. And I've seen a lot of drama, like, oh, you can't do this, our whole group's going to break. And, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Well, yeah, because it's an all-or-nothing situation.
It really is. And the biggest point they brought up about Final Fantasy XI, which is the one thing I do miss about it, is that if you couldn't make your raid time based on a real-life event, nobody gave a shit. It was like, oh, sorry, guys, I can't make Dynamis. I've got to go to a family event. And they're like, no biggie, we've got 37 other people here. Right,
yeah.
And if you manage to make it, you can just hop in halfway through the raid. Where here,
when you're fighting mechanics,
zero raids like that.
Yeah.
Zero. And here you have 8 members who have gotten, especially when it comes down to T6, T7, where there's a couple different ways to do it. Your group gets your flow. You never make a mistake. It's perfect. One person can't be there. You screw the entire team over, because not only do they have to find a replacement, they have to teach them the way that they do it, or who knows if this replacement's going to be any good at all. And it's very frustrating even for the endgame players in that case.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that, and it seems like events that they've tried to design more where you don't need to have, not everyone has to be on the same page. Those end up becoming so easy in the pendulum swings so far in the other direction that nobody bothers to. Whoever bothered to have a static or anything even close to a static for Crystal Tower? No one.
Right.
No one. And so it becomes so easy that the pendulum swings the other way, and everyone just queues up through Duty Finder. And then I don't think that that's as fun as, trying to do something with, with your friends. And I think that another big criticism that exists is that there isn't enough content to really do with a solid group of friends. It's either all based in a pickup or based in a some kind of a static that's then limited to 8 people. There's a lot of limiting factors in terms of how you decide to play your game here. Anyone?
I'll agree with that to certain extents. I don't know if I'd say that there's not enough content, because I feel like there's a pretty good spread of stuff to do. I guess it just depends on how you're looking at it. I mean, when we actually get the time to play with each other, we have fun, running
Absolutely.
Brave Flocks or running Brave Flocks.
Right.
And I
Don't
think...
forget when we do speedruns of Brave Flocks.
Oh, right. When we
Yeah.
do Brave Flocks, that's an important one not to forget. But, if... I think... Take Coil, for example. If it wasn't just the fact that, we would have to sit down and memorize a bunch of stuff, we probably would, if we could just jump into it, we probably would do it a lot more. The day that me and you, I don't know if Jux was with us, I think it was just me and you, but we did a few runs of Coil Turn 1, right?
Yeah, we did.
And that was pretty cool. And it was pretty easy, but obviously I'm sure that the further along you get, the more unforgiving it is. And you can't just jump in, for a couple runs here and there and I guess hope to really get something accomplished now, right?
Right.
I mean, I understand that they've made quite a few of them easier. I did Turn 1 again a few weeks ago, and it's literally just kill the ADS, sack pull all the trash mobs, and then kill the snakes, and you ain't even got to worry about ads anymore. So, I mean, it's super easy now,
right?
But I also understand that not all of them have been nerfed down like that.
Right,
so.
right. No, but you're right, Nika. When you think back to FF11 and the days of Dynamis, there was really no point at Dynamis where you had a solid static and only those people needed to go because no one else could possibly learn the fight mechanics. It was enough out of other places in FF11, the mob mechanics and the boss mechanics, so that, you didn't have to memorize an exact pattern. And I think that the two clutch points for people at this point are Titan Extreme and Turn 5. Those are the 2 points where people feel really, really stuck, and they can't just Duty Finder past it. And that's kind of I think that's kind of a problem. If Duty Finder's going to be there, it should exist as a reasonable as a reasonable alternative to forming a static. And maybe even Titan EX might be struck off that list fairly shortly, because even I was able to clear Titan EX
while drunk
on a Duty Finder. But now, are there ways to fix this? Like, in terms of the way that FF14 is structured and the way that the fights have been presented so far, is there a way that the fights could be presented a bit differently, or the mechanics could be structured a bit differently? I know, Kahlo, you had said earlier that, just mechanics appearing in different order or a random order.
Well, first thing that they need to do is get rid of, maybe not altogether, there can be one big you're going to die if you don't do this move here. Like, for example, in the final boss of Crystal Tower, giant fucking holographic wall going up, and you see a huge charging bar. Get the fuck out of that. That's fine, right?
Right.
But just throwing in all kinds of horrible things that are going to one-hit kill you almost instantly should not be in there. And you can say things like, well, all you have to do is memorize them, but there's some players out there that even memorizing them, they don't have the same reaction.
Their latency doesn't allow for it. Your network,
a friend of mine that's on our server who lives in England, I feel like because she's so far away, even though she has great service, just how far that the data has to travel, she has a bit more lag.
Right.
And
even a little bit of lag, weight of the land will get you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
So I think they need to do away with a majority of the one-hit kills, and then the challenge should come from, like Jux said, if you randomize the moves, then you're not sitting here jumping rope and waiting for the next thing.
Right.
You're actually paying attention to the fight and you're trying to react.
And I really want to bring up a point that Fusion brought up in the chat room. There still was an order for pulls and stuff for Dynamis, and while that's true, that only was really contingent on one player being able to know and make those pulls, with the rest of the group being able to provide support and DPS, right? Mm-hmm. So if the one person, if the one or two people that knows the order of the pulls, there's, you know what I mean?
Plus,
like, it's not contingent on the entire group to know the order of the pulls. You can just sort of fake it and follow everyone.
The other thing you have to remember, too, is that it wasn't like a set in stone thing. Different groups might have decided to handle things differently and have different orders to do them in.
Right. Yeah. That's true, too. I mean, but there was... there was a certain way to be able to communicate all of those things easily, quickly, and so that everyone was able to understand, and so that people weren't getting... I mean, and then there's also the burnout factor that you experience while you're doing raids and failing, which seems to be way increased on FF14 versus FF11. People give stuff 15 minutes, and then they're like, all right, fuck it, I'm out. Sometimes not even that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's something goes wrong on the first pull, fuck it, they're out.
If I do my expert roulette and get put into Lost City and the tank says I don't know how to do doors, I'm gone. I'll admit it.
You put that on the tank?
The tank?
Well, no. If the tank has never done it before, and I don't know, if there's somebody who knows how to do it, okay, cool, right? But if I go in and...
Why would you expect the tank to know that, though?
Not necessarily...
I've nothing but stand there.
I've done thousands of Lost Cities.
The tank has to do the doors himself, right? But if I go in there, and I think this particular one that I'm talking about, the tank's like, this is my second time in here, I didn't get to do the fight, and I think the healer was like, yeah, don't worry, me either. And I'm just like, ugh, because I've even done it a few times, and I still don't quite... Like, when I do it with Juxta, he can mark the doors for me, and then I can do it, but I don't like learning that fight with people. Now I'm out. I'd rather wait 30 minutes and requeue.
Elitist.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude, that responsibility is on you as the DPS. You should know how to do doors. That should have been the one thing you learned for that dungeon.
Especially range DPS.
Seriously.
Look at one
you
side
are
at a
the
time.
worst.
I don't know if you noticed, but when you open the doors, the symbols pop up again, and you can just...
Yeah, I know, but meh.
It is hard to cut them while you're moving.
God, you are the worst.
I think what I noticed in the article that I thought was a good point is when it talked about how a fight should get gradually harder based on your screw-ups. And I think he brought up turn 4, and I think that's a perfect example.
Yeah, no, that is a good example, yeah.
Yeah, if you screw up a heal or you screw up a DPS at the beginning, it becomes a little more challenging, but it's not an insta-wipe.
Right.
And as long as your healers and your DPS are, like, right on the money, you can catch up and you can still win pretty easily. Or, I mean, maybe you struggle, but you can still win. It's not an instant wipe. You have quite a few opportunities to fuck up before you completely have to say, okay, just wipe it.
Totally.
Where in most occasions now, especially, they kept bringing up the voice streak thing from turn 7, that if someone petrifies, I mean, anyone other than, like, a melee DPS, you're fucked. Like, it's just game over. And it's so frustrating. Even... That's what's stupid, too, is that having done it a million times, sometimes we one-shot T7, and then there are nights where we're doing it for hours and hours because for some reason, like, someone will petrify someone else, or this will go, or that will, and it's just, I don't know. It's very rage-inducing for many people, and if there was just a way that, like, if the tank gets petrified, you can't win. Like, game over. And I just feel like there's got to be some kind of way to, keep the mechanic interesting, because I think it's a very unique mechanic, but like not make it an instant wipe if that happens. I don't know.
I think overall that seems to be the biggest like bottom line or concern is like your mechanic is basically don't get hit or you die.
Right. And well, I've said this a couple of times on the show. The Ultima hard mode I think is a great example of a fight that is both somewhat challenging and also provides enough leeway so that a tank can go down and be recovered and you can still recover the fight, right? Like Juxta, you and I did Ultimate Hard Mode. Did you get the same sort of feeling off that fight?
Yeah, I did.
I mean, I felt like it was one of those. It's one of the few fights that I've experienced in 14 where I was like, wow, this actually kind of feels properly balanced. And I'm not sure what about it made it feel properly balanced. But there's enough chance for recovery. There's enough chance where, if you have 3 or 4 people down, that you can still eke out that win. And I think that that's a really important thing for MMOs. The insta-wipe mechanic is a bummer mechanic. It's a total bummer, because then you got to start from fucking scratch. And it sucks. It's sort of like, I feel like in FF11, the dev team relied really heavily on mechanics like hate resets. And in this, they're relying really heavily on mechanics like insta-death. And both of those are, they're effective.
But they're not very fun.
They're not very fun. Yeah.
Personally, as far as looking for fun mechanics go, I think that maybe what they need to take a look at doing is finding different ways for people to, how to phrase this, to do things in the actual fight. For example, and it wasn't necessarily done very good, but in Castrum Meridians, or whatever the fuck that one is, where you get into like the cannons to blast things down.
Yeah.
That's something that's different.
Yeah.
Or, I'll use some examples from the only other MMO that I really played that's done this, but, World of Warcraft. Like, there's one fight with the fucking Blood Queen, where she, like, bites certain people.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And basically gives you more powers, and then you then have to bite somebody else before you... And you kind of, like, pass things along.
That sounds like Allegan Rot, and that's...
Oh, is that what... Okay.
It doesn't give you powers, but but the thing is with that is it's also an insta-death. If you don't pass it along to someone before the time expires, you wipe everyone.
I'm pretty sure in WoW I remember completely, but if you screw up, you die, but you don't necessarily screw other people over. Yeah. It's been a long time since I've done it.
Done which one? No, the rat that Nika's talking about is more like the Arthas Lich King rat.
Okay, because I was gonna say in a situation like that, if you die, that makes it progressively harder without necessarily just dooming everything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's maybe what they need to look into, is instead of looking for new patterns for us to memorize, is actually give us new things in the fight that we have to do. Oh, perfect example. When you're in the Isgabine dungeon, Stone Vigil, and Isgabine comes back when you're fighting the second to last boss, and you have to use the cannons to blow out of the air. Things like that to take a look at.
That's like the second to first boss.
I think there's 3.
Second to first?
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
A phrase?
I don't think it is.
I think he's trying to do a play on words, and he just failed at it.
Second to first?
Yeah.
Just second?
Yeah, I think second would be proper.
I was making fun of Talos second to last.
But no, I agree. Mechanics like that, I think make certain fights way more interesting and way more engaging. And just the repetition and the static nature of that repetition. Every single fight is exactly the same every single time, and you either know the pattern or you don't. I'm not sure that I can offer any way to do it better, but it definitely is something that I as a player have noticed. Ryaku in the chat brought this up, and I thought that this was a really good point. It is better than the wipe, and you can't do the fight again until you get the claim / pop item / wait for re-enter that FFXI had. And I totally agree with that, except for, maybe that doesn't work for like DPS queues for Crystal Tower or something that Kyle mentioned a little bit later. But yeah, I'm not sure what exactly they need to do. I'm not sure that necessarily randomizing things absolutely fixes it. I like a lot of the suggestions that have been put forth here today. I think all of those have been really good.
I just feel like it seems like they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot. I mean, they made Free Company, which is exactly what they wanted, like a Link Shell from 11 to be, like a group of, like a lot of people who can tackle content, but there isn't content for a lot of people. So you get free company of like 10 friends who just want to buy a house, and it completely defeats the purpose of what a free company is supposed to be. So I think until they get content, like they said, even if Crystal Tower was queuable as a full alliance, that would give some kind of reason to have a big group of people with content to tackle. And they're just missing that.
I think something that they could look in, and I hate saying this because it's one of the aspects that I never quite liked about World of Warcraft, but I mean, I guess in a situation like this, when it comes to the free companies, it's something that they could maybe take a page from their book from, but having bigger and small, like you can go in as either a smaller group or a bigger group, and maybe that adjusts the difficulty as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much extra work necessarily goes into something like that, if it's just adjusting numbers.
But making an event scalable, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Sort of like what they're doing with Frontlines, how if you can't get 24v24v24 fast enough, it'll scale it down. That's a really interesting idea.
One of the biggest problems that I had with that in World of Warcraft was then you had... Like they felt like they needed to give better rewards for people that went in with more. So then there was higher item levels in that as opposed to the other one, which gets kind of annoying. But I think if you just give more rewards, you have a bigger chance at a loot pool. And there are some people out there that like the challenge that goes into trying to manage a larger scale operation than a smaller scale one.
I don't think they necessarily need to scale it. I think in the article, he actually brought this up too, that if you go into Dynamis with, like, however the maximum amount of people, 64 or whatever, you'll be able to steamroll the content, but not very many people will get gear, whereas you go in with a group of like higher geared, higher level, higher skilled players, but a smaller group, you'll be able to gear really quickly and get through the content really quickly. So I think what they should allow us to be able to do is for things like Titan Hard now, for those of us who have gotten like all the jobs and we just want to get our relics, let us go in with like 4 people. It'll be harder for us, more fun, and we can do it because of the gear and the skill that we have. Whereas the people who still need 8 people can do that. We should be able to just kind of go in with 6 or 8 or 4. I don't really see the need to force us to go into a certain amount of, you know what I mean? I don't think they need to scale it. I think they can leave it the exact same difficulty as it is, but people with higher gear can go in with less amount of people. And
I see what you're saying.
I understand that, but how does that address the situation you just brought up where people make a free company and they only need 8 to 10 people?
Good point.
This is more for older content staying valid, is I guess what I'm saying. To keep old content interesting for the players who've been around. For new content, I think they should look into bigger scale things in the future.
Bigger scale things, guys.
Well, but here's the thing, and to kind of go along with our Crystal Tower discussion from the first part of the episode here, from the dev team has said that the challenge that's going to be presented through Crystal Tower is going to be about the same challenge that was presented through the first round of Crystal Tower editions. So it's going to be stuff that we steamroll the first time. It's not going to be content that you got to try again. It's going to be pretty straightforward. Maybe not straightforward mechanics, but I mean,
steamrollable right away. I wouldn't say.
Well, the first Crystal Tower was pretty steam. I don't think I ever failed.
I have. The amount of times people would kill skeletons on the same freaking Bone Dragon platform and wipe the raid was so infuriating. The amount of times people would not do the meteors right in King Behemoth. I mean, I've wiped in Crystal Tower more times than I'm.
Yeah, but but have you ever failed Crystal Tower? Straight up failed the whole thing. Not like rage, not rage quit, but timed out.
Yep, timed out.
Never
once.
timed out. Not
and
once.
I think there was one time where everyone just quit.
Not yeah. I mean that's a little bit different, but it's not the same. I don't feel like it's the same thing though. It just feels like content that okay, fine. At first, it's going to be a little bit challenging, but it's not really going to present a challenge for much of our player base.
Which I think is good in a sense, because it's stuff that has mechanics, but if, one alliance or 2 people fuck up, it's not going to kill the entire raid. But then I think they should also allow people to go in with less people in the future, or more people. I don't know. I just think there needs to be some kind of, I don't know. I'm not sure the word I'm looking for here. Adjustability. I don't know.
Flexibility?
Scalability. Or flexibility. There's a good
flexibility.
One. Yeah.
I like flexible things.
I mean, I don't know. That's why I'm not a game developer. But I feel like it's just missing something.
No, I agree. One of the things that I like to point out, and I know that I've mentioned it, I think the last time that we had a discussion that was similar to this, was how when you're about to wipe in, let's say, FF11, for example, just the way that it was designed and the way that it ended up being was if you just had a few good players left, you could recover. There were ways to do that.
Right.
Besides a level 3 limit break, once you start going down, that's it. You might as well wipe it and start all over again. The story I've told about the time that I think it was Suzaku
when you tank Suzaku, perfect dodge, tanked it forever, everyone got up.
No, that's a valid point, though. The person
I agree.
the article said this too. That
Valid
people
point.
that the good players are able to say, you know, like, I carried you with my amazing skill because I'm a good player and I could keep everyone up, versus right now, where if where a person dies, everyone's saying, nope, you suck, get out of the raid.
Yeah.
It's very different. Either way, the advanced player has a sense of, like, I'm a good player, but one way it's like, I'm able to carry this group and it's a good thing, versus you all suck and it's a bad thing. So there's a big difference there. What's going on right now.
I totally agree. Because, I mean, it does seem like the first thing that people do upon failure is assign blame. Mm-hmm. And it never is, you know, why was the group responsible? It's why was this one person responsible? More often than not, it's the tank.
Tanks suck.
Yet I just got yelled at for leaving
actually,
a thing
being
after
warrior
the
tank.
tank said he was new.
I've managed to carry people through Ifrits and Titans as a warrior tank before.
It happens on occasion. When we did Titan for me and Davies Relic, you I think brought in a healer friend of yours that I feel like just was a tremendous help, as opposed to, you know, Titan groups that I've been in before. Like, you could just tell that the heals were way above what they normally would have been in that kind of situation. So I think in very few situations, having a player that's, you know, really, really geared or really, really good does help, but it's not usually that person can save things when it really starts going downhill in, like, a pinch.
Right.
Yeah. And those, I think those create some of the most interesting and
definitely.
the most fun moments of playing an MMO.
Definitely, those can be very memorable and very defining.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can also make reputations too. I mean, think about how many players had great reputations for being able to be that one clutch player that gets through the end of the fight.
Or and I think this might actually come from the fact that a lot of the content now is in instances rather than out in the real world. And when you go into instances, they have that whole, like, sort of pre-made sort of feel to it.
Right.
But I have a friend of mine who, she always played, like, Summoner and Beastmaster and Red Mage in FF11, and her whole thing was she could basically just do everything on her own.
Right.
And that was one of the things that she loved, was going out and being able to solo things. And other people said, you can't do that. That cannot be done.
Yeah.
And she would spend days and days and days on an NM until it was downed, because that's what she found.
Well,
fun.
there is no true solo class in this game.
True.
Yeah.
Which I think that would.
They don't let you do anything solo because raids you require 4 or 8 people.
Right. I think it would be interesting to get a more solo-based job that, you know, if they were able to open up dungeons like we're talking about, that would be able to complete some of that content. I mean, there are players now who will go in with 4 and then just say, guys, stay at the beginning, I'm going to solo this. I mean, there was some summoner or scholar. Was it a scholar?
Probably. Actually, probably
I can't remember what it was, but I heard someone being able to solo Wanderer's Palace. So you know, that's pretty interesting.
No, I think it was a summoner. They can, like, I think they posted, like, videos of them. So
yeah,
like,
somebody did post videos of it, but
between dots and pets, I could see that. There's been a lot of fates that I can't solo on Black Mage that I've done on Bard, just because you can always be moving and running,
right,
and repelling,
right,
scathing,
skate kiting.
So an interesting article. We'll have a link to this post that we've been talking about on the episode posting on limitbreakradio.com if you'd like to take a look. It's a really good, really interesting, well thought out post. You may not agree with everything in there, but it's still definitely worth the read. There's a good reason that this made the rounds in the FF14 community, Reddit, and a lot of people were talking about this. So if you want to check it out, we'll have a link to it at our website, limitbreakradio.com. All right, we're getting pretty close to the end of part 2 here on Limit Break Radio. But before we do, I want to bring in another caller.
Who's that?
It's going to be PS Expert.
Is he an expert on PlayStations?
I don't know. You can ask
or
him.
Photoshop?
You can ask him if he answers.
Party sluts?
What?
P.S.
Oh, I get it.
Postscript.
PS Expert. I see he's connected.
Hello?
Not hearing anything.
Hello? Turn your mic on.
Come on. We ain't got all day. We're dying here.
Let the bagels hit the floor.
What?
I got it.
Just let it happen.
Oh, PS Expert. I don't think...
Yep. He's typing in the Skype chat.
Yeah.
He said his mic doesn't work.
Oh, that's too bad. PS Expert, you get removed.
Why would you call in if your mic doesn't
Seriously, why
That's
would you?
weird. You weirdo.
Come on. Come on.
Sorry, dude.
Obviously not a pewter sexpert. That didn't work at all. Damn. I pulled a juxta.
Ew.
All right, let's give another caller here a shot.
Oh, not this one.
Ow!
Thanks, Nero.
You're welcome.
I bet he knows how to do that now.
Well, Ryuko was Ryoku,
Yeah.
whatever, was responsible for putting us in the echo hole last time, so I guess we had to expect it. Ryuku, what's up?
Ryoku.
Whatever.
So, Rikau, how you doing?
Yeah,
Obviously,
I'm doing
Ryuichi.
good. And how's it going?
Good. Raikou, thanks for joining us. So did you want to add your 2 cents to this Endgame discussion that we've been having here?
Yeah, for the most part, it's like I think people are getting too nostalgic when they think about Endgame, especially when you want to compare 11 and in the fact that it's like if you really think about the mechanics of 11 and break down mechanics, they were very simplistic compared to MMOs that came out after it.
Yeah, they were. I mean, and a lot of that had to do with the time that it was being released. Like, it was 2002. The only things...
PS2 limitations.
Well, the only other MMOs that were really popularized at that point were Ultima Online and EverQuest. So, and if I remember correctly, most of FF11 was sort of designed after this EverQuest model that existed at the time. So, I agree. A lot of the mob mechanics were a lot more simplistic. There it is.
Words.
While a lot of the mechanics were a lot more simplistic, it seems like a limitation that the developers were using to their advantage. It allowed fights to be more interesting and more engaging on a certain level than the fights in FF14 do. And some of that may have had to do with the PS2 limitations that they were working with, or the inherent game limitations or network limitations that they were working with at the time. We do have faster network speeds now, and that allows for things like much quicker cast times to expect players to be able to react to.
Or dodging.
Yes.
Which is, I think, where they were going with it. I think that they saw the simplistic tank and spake of a lot of other MMOs. They saw the boring sit around for 3 hours and camp a stupid thing. And that's why I think they went overboard on the mechanics of this game. And I think there needs to be a balance, personally.
Right. Because I think, in terms of, contemporaries for FF14, there are a lot more mechanics that other games that have come up with in that amount of time that they've just sort of hijacked. Fates were sort of hijacked from Guild Wars 2. There's a lot of different areas in which you can pull from. So yeah, on the one hand, I agree that FF11 was a little bit more simplistic. But I'm not sure that being more complex or more complicated or trying to overcompensate for some of those failings that FF11 had has done what the dev team thought it was going to do for FF14.
I would in fact say that it kind of did the opposite, because sure, a lot of the mechanics, quote unquote, in Final Fantasy XI may have been simplistic, but I think what it did is it gave a sort of sandbox environment that allowed you to just jump in and make your own strategies out of it.
Exactly.
So it was in design it was simple, but in execution it was a lot more complex. And this is so complex in design that it then makes the mechanics simplified. Jump rope.
Right. Well, and this goes all the way back to our ninja discussion that we had at the very, very beginning of the show. Look at how much of a sandbox FF11 was allowed to be. They made ninja a tank.
Even years after
the community
it had been established as one, the dev team is still like, we don't know what you mean by ninja's a tank, because that was never their vision.
Even in interviews now, Yoship is like, we never wanted ninja to be a tank, and it's not going to be a tank in this game. And so that was always the intention, that ninja was not supposed to be a tank in FF11. Mm-hmm. But the system was open enough that people figured out, oh, well, you know, if you've got shadows up, that's a great way to mitigate damage, and the recast is short enough that you can keep a constant cycle of them up. It became a tank.
Yeah.
I think it's funny how you guys are saying it's so sandboxy that you could basically do whatever you wanted, but then there would be
no, not we're not going that far.
But people would want to make a hybrid paladin by making a warrior sub white mage, and that did not work at all. Or like samurai sub summoner to make a monstrosity.
Sandbox doesn't necessarily mean that everything you try is going to work.
Right.
I'm just saying most things don't work. Ninja is a special case because, seriously, why would you give a class the ability to dodge anything, let alone dodge any three things right after each other?
But it was balanced because AoEs.
Yeah.
Take away all your shadows.
But maybe they expected Ninja to have such elite DPS that they'd be pulling hate all the time.
That didn't come to fruition for quite a while. You know, Ninja's getting a DPS boost like that. I don't know. You know, there is a certain rigidity involved in FF14 that was not there with FF11, and I'm not sure how to take rigidity out of that equation. But I know that allowing for more flexibility allowed for very unique moments of fun. Ryoku, do you have any response to that?
Well, but then again, if you think about it, the term for fun in some of the fights all depend on what type of jobs you brought. Because, like for example, the original days when you were doing Kirin, you had party steps strategies where the melees just sat around, especially monks who did nothing but just stand there using boosts until they can chi blast.
Actually, yeah, that's kind of a good point. That's kind of a good point. Although, again, not the way that I'm sure the fight was designed by the dev team at that point.
Yeah, that's what the players came up with.
Right. That's a strategy that the players came up with. And it seems as if in FF14 there is none of that. There is no strategy that the players come up with that the dev team didn't intend. There are mechanics that you can respond to in slightly varying ways, and I mean slightly. And we're talking about positioning or who's next in line to get what mechanic. Those are the very small differences that you get. But in terms of being, you can't. Could you have a monk sit on the sidelines for a fight in FF14 and wait for him to do one specific thing? It's not something that doesn't even exist in FF14. And so was that necessarily a fun mechanic in FF11? No, but it was something that the community came up with.
Something else that you have to know in relation to that, though, was that wasn't necessarily to say that that's all monks could do. One of the problems with FF11 was when you find out what the most efficient way to do something is, that's all you're allowed to do.
Yeah, that actually is a good point. That's a good point. So, I mean, obviously FF11 wasn't a perfect game either, but I do kind of feel as if, and feel free to back me up here, that the endgame content was definitely more engaging than the FF14 endgame content.
I don't know.
Come on, no, because right now
Being in a hardcore 11 link shell, I don't agree. Just because I was in a link shell that was JP and a merge, and they literally expected whoever was on at any time, JP time zone or American time zone, to be camping the Three Kings, to be camping Tiamat, to be camping everything. Literally, you had no time to do anything else because you were camping 3-hour windows after another.
But again, is that an inherent flaw with the game itself or the
was that
users?
was
Just
that the
because
group?
that's what they're making you do or they expect you to do doesn't
that
mean
was
that
what
the content,
Endgame was, though.
But that
doesn't
you
mean the
have to think
content is
about
any less
how-
engaging.
well, no, but you did have to do that to be able to be competitive in Endgame.
Yes, and to be able to claim it, and not only be competitive, but then you have to claim it as well,
Right.
which made people use bots and all that yada yada. And
Right.
I mean, the way you think a 3-hour window, every 30 minutes you have 30 seconds of a chance that it might spawn and you might claim it. That's not engaging at all.
All right, but what about some of the other stuff that was added further down the lines?
Yeah.
Nizul Isle,
That stuff was
Salvage.
much-
That's other expansion. So right now we're at pre-Rise
You
of
have to think of
Zealard
where-
Oh, so we can only use those as comparison?
for the end game right now.
No, I
For
think
the end game.
No, because they should have learned stuff from that.
Okay, so you get up to TUAU. That's it, though.
The whole point about A Realm Reborn was that they've taken stuff that they've learned from both Western and Eastern MMOs, and they've taken that inspiration to design this one.
I'm not so sure, because I think A Realm Reborn was just a desperate attempt to fix what was broken.
That's also something that they stated, though.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Ryoku, thanks for the call. It was a very interesting discussion.
Rokoko.
Thank you, Raichuko.
Do you have any quick shout-outs before you take off here?
Yeah, I'm gonna give a quick shout out to the free company that I was on in Hyperion, which is called Dead Pepper.
Dead Pepper?
Yep.
Dead Pepper. Shout out.
Is that an FF9 reference?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thanks for the call, Ryoku. We appreciate it.
Yep. You guys have a good night.
Yeah, you too. That was a very interesting discussion, and I think that was a good chat about Endgame here. So we are about 6 minutes over our time here for part 2 of Limit Break Radio. But don't worry, we'll be back with a part 3. If you're listening on twitch.tv, we'll be back in 15 to maybe 30 minutes, depending on how much
It's like a freaking sauna in
It's
here.
like an oven. It's really ridiculous.
I'm taking my pants off next episode.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, gross.
As long as your character takes their pants off, too.
I can't. My character's at home.
Have me
I could lock him in for
F
you.
right?
Off. I'm leaving now. I'm not even staying for the outro. Forget you guys. You go to the bathroom again.
But if you're listening on Twitch, we'll be back in about 15 to 20 minutes. With part 3, we're going to be going over some emails, some FMFFLs. We've got a lot of FMFFLs that you guys have been sending in. Thanks for that. We've got some Fapping the Realm to check out, and we're going to be reading some more recent elitist Party Finder tweets. So we're going to have a lot of fun on part 3. Check us out on the web, www.limitbreakradio.com. You can get show notes for all the things that we've been talking about here today, as well as check out past episodes and do a lot of cool stuff. You can connect with us, send us email, hosts@limitbreakradio.com. We'd like to get more emails to the show if possible. So the best way to do that, hosts@limitbreakradio.com. Remember, you too can call the show live if you're listening live on twitch.tv. Add us on Skype. The username is Limit Break Radio, or you can call us at 810-515-8715. Make sure to follow us on Facebook. That's facebook.com/limitbreakradio, and follow us on Twitter. That's @limitbreakradio. So that's going to do it for part 2 of Limit Break Radio today here. I want to thank you guys for listening on the Twitch, and thank you guys for listening at home on the podcast. Check us out next time. My name's Nero. Keep listening.